Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the Fenty Beauty Moroccan Spice Palette. This will be a full review and I think I actually have 6 looks to show you in this video. I'll also have some swatches as well. To talk a little bit about the packaging, it is plastic. It's very sleek and slim, but it's quite heavy duty, like it feels sturdy. The shadow names are on the back, which is a little bit unfortunate because they're not actually printed on the inside of the palette. And it is a snap closure. There's no magnet involved. When you open the palette up, you of course have your 16 eyeshadows on the bottom, and then you've got a really large mirror up top, which is super handy. It doesn't open all the way, which is nice, so you can prop it up on a counter if you're gonna be doing your makeup. You can sort of position the mirror a little bit. Once it goes to about here though, it will kind of like drop until it hits the hinge line. I just like the fact that it does have a hinge that stops it because I don't like when palettes open all the way backwards. So as I mentioned, the shadow names are not on the inside of the palette, which I think is really unfortunate. I really don't like having to look at the back of my palette every time I want to see a shadow name. So I wish they had printed it on here. That being said, it would have been a little bit difficult because these are shaped like a diamond and not in here normally like a square. You have to sort of like put the printing on an angle, which would be a little bit awkward. That being said, I still wish it had writing on the inside of the palette. Now, interestingly enough, the back indicates that there are 15 shadows with 0.9 grams of product, and there is one in there with 0.7 grams of product. They don't say which one it is, but honestly, it's probably just down to the consistency and the formula of one of these eyeshadows. I don't know which one it is. I don't think it really matters. I will point out that 0.9 grams of product is starting to get towards the smaller side of things for an eyeshadow. I prefer when they've got at least 1 gram. 1.5 is the standard, so you're getting a little bit less than most people would expect. Now, I'm somebody that always mentions how many grams are in a product in all of my reviews because I think it's important and I think people should be aware of how much they're buying. But it also needs to be said that I'm not somebody who's going to be running through an eyeshadow palette anytime soon, so I'm not that concerned with how much product is in here. For 16 shadows, I think you're getting so much variety that maybe it kind of makes up for how much grams you're getting. Now, the price tag on this is 69 Canadian, which palettes are starting to be that expensive, so it's still a bit of a sticker shock for me. But that is how much they are starting to cost. So, you know, with inflation, everything's going up. So 69 Canadian and 59 US, which is actually kind of nice. There's not too huge of a discrepancy between the price tag of the American and the Canadian version of this palette. Sometimes I can see like a $20 price tag difference and I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, the exchange rate is not that high. So I do think that 10 bucks more Canadian versus the American price tag makes sense in this case. The only thing I find a little bit awkward about this palette is that the outer packaging is so deceiving. Looking at this, I would have expected a purple red palette. And when you open it, you're like, what happened here? I mean, I think it's pretty, but I don't know why they went with this kind of packaging as a print and then they did it on the inside like that. I love the outer packaging, I love the inner packaging, but I feel like they don't really fit together as a whole. The Fenty Beauty Moroccan Spice Palette is a permanent product. I thought it was limited edition for the summer because it sort of seemed to come out as a collection and I thought it was going to be gone. But everything that I have read recently seems to indicate that this is a permanent product, but you can only buy it at Sephora since it is a Sephora-owned brand. I'm going to slide in some swatches here so you can see exactly how these shadows look like on my arm. Alright, now that you've seen the swatches, let's have a little bit of a discussion about the shades in here because I've got a lot to say. So originally I was not that intrigued by this palette even though I thought it looked pretty because I thought some of the colors were going to be a little bit too same. The number one culprit for that was this section right up here. Those 3 golds look so similar on camera, in pictures, in person. I look at those and I'm like, there's not a whole lot of variety amongst those shades. However, in practice, I am so happy to report that they are completely different and they behave not how I would expect them to behave based on looking at them. This one at the end is more of an old gold, so it's got almost a little bit of a green in it, but it's not too strong. This one in the middle, and this is where it gets kind of annoying because I have to look at the back, it's called Casablanca, is a little bit more of an orange gold. I have that on my lid today. It does perform a little bit better if you wet your brush. You don't have to, but you do get a little bit better payoff if you do that. That one's a little bit more orange. And then this one over here, what are you called? Mirage. Yeah, it is a Mirage. That one shocked me so completely when I put it on my lid. It looks really pale in the pan, and then I put it on the lid and I'm like, you're darker. You're way darker than I thought you were going to be. I realized that maybe it's a little bit deceiving to look at that shade and think that, oh, you're gonna be like a neutral pale lid color, and then it goes on the lid and it's a lot darker than you intended. But it's really nice to see more variety in that top row than I was actually expecting to get, because I thought they were all gonna look identical on the lid, and they're definitely not. The gray tone over here, Shisha Smoke, I think that's how you pronounce it, is surprising as well. It was a lot darker and more pigmented than I was expecting. I mean, I guess it looks kind of like a mid-tone dark shade here, but I was really just expecting like a wash of gray color so that I could put that in my crease, kind of as a transition shade. And it can go on softly if you go lightly, but you can build that sucker up so much that you get like a really dark, almost wet concrete color with it. It's really beautiful, and I wasn't expecting that either. I thought it was going to be paler and a little bit more sheer. It's not. It's super pigmented. The shade up here is a little bit strange. It's called Moroccan Ice. It's not really a brow bone highlight shade. It's pretty much a white with a pink reflect to it. So I tended to use this on the lid. It's not something I would ever put on my brow bone. So keep in mind that this palette doesn't actually have any brow bone highlight shades. There used to be a point in time where I thought it was absolutely necessary to have a brow bone cream highlight shade in every single palette, and I'm kind of moving past that. I have so many single shadows that are that color. I have more than enough palettes with that color in it. I don't really need it anymore. So I actually like that it's not in this palette because it frees up more space for more unique colors. But just keep in mind, if you need a brow bone highlight shade, you have to reach for something else. I grabbed something else to highlight my brow bone today, for example. Moving on to the more warm tones down here, I love them all. There's no dud in there. I am super in love with the red. I always like red eyeshadow. I think it's one of those fun colors to use. It really brings out blue eyes. I have it on the outer corner and through the crease right now. I'm so happy when it's a matte red that's on the darker side of things without being too bright, because it means I can use it in that outer area. So I really like the red, and I love all the surrounding colors because they're that sort of like warm shade, but can be used as a transition color or can be used to deepen something up. And they're all just, I don't know, they sort of fit, I want to call it in like the peanut butter family. This one is definitely like a peanut butter shade, but these all kind of like help accentuate that kind of warm orange brown color. So these around here are all really nice, and I love that they're all matte. I am so happy about how many mattes there are in this palette, because was it the Galaxy palette that Fenty Beauty released for the holidays was all shimmer. And yes, it looked fun and it looked exciting, but in usage, you can't wear a full shimmer palette that's all basically like pale to mid-tone colors. So I was a little bit nervous when this one originally got launched because I thought maybe it wouldn't have enough matte shades and they wouldn't be the right colors. Not the case at all. This has all the right mattes and they're beautiful. So while this is a fundamentally warm palette, I mean, the bulk of it is pretty much warm tones, there are a few token blues over here, which I looked at originally and was like, oh, how do you wear like a red with a blue? It doesn't really work. It's not something I would ever normally reach for, and that's what I have in my eyes right now. This blue here is the best blue I have ever used in my entire life. That's a shimmery blue, I should point out. This teal, blue, turquoise, whatever you want to call that color, is buttery, smooth, pigmented. It goes on like liquid butter, basically. Kind of a gross description, but I'm trying to just indicate how smooth it is to apply. It's beautiful. Like, my jaw fell open the first time I put this on my lid because I was just in absolute shock. I was not expecting it to be that good. And the color down here, what's it called? Souk It To Me. made me nervous at first. I was like, you're a shimmery dark blue. It's basically like a super dark version of that blue shade there. What are you called? Evil Genie. I really don't like the shadow names are on the back. It's basically a deeper version of Evil Genie, and it's still shimmery. So I was like, I don't know how the heck this is gonna work on the outer corner. It does, it does. I don't know how it does, it just does. I have that on my outer corner right now, and I wrap that around my lower lash line. It's deep enough that it doesn't show too much shimmer, so you can use it in the outer corner without any problems. I tend to prefer matte colors in the outer corner, but I will occasionally go for a shimmer if the color is right, and this one is absolutely perfect for using in that outer corner area without it being like too reflective. Now that I've talked a little bit about the shadows, let's dive into the looks that I created using this palette. The first look uses Quicksand through the crease. That's kind of a warm coral shade. It's beautiful in the crease. It's a great transition color. And then I used Casablanca wet on the lid. I did discover that this one worked much better wet than it does dry. I have it dry on my eye today, but I did prefer the performance when I had my brush a little bit damp. I then have a saffron on the outer corner and drag that through the crease. I then have Nuts and Dates on the outer V just to deepen everything up. And then I have Moroccan Ice on the inner corner. Look number 2 has Mirage on the lid, and this is when I discovered it's much darker than I actually thought it was based on the color in the pan. I have Fez Up through the crease, Nuts and Dates on the outer corner, and then Moroccan Ice on the inner corner. I tended to use Moroccan Ice a lot on the inner corner just because it's kind of a white shade that's a little bit brightening and it has a little bit of a pink reflect to it, but it's not too obviously pink. Look number 3 has Shisha Smoke through the crease, Evil Genie on the lid, and this is when I discovered just how much I love this color. It's beautiful, it can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. I have Soak It To Me on the outer corner and drag that through the crease, and then Moroccan Ice on the inner corner as well. Look number 4 has Marrakesh on the lid, and this is one of those shades that I thought was going to look very similar to all the rest of the golds, and it very clearly does not. I have Cumin Get It through the crease, love this color so much, and then Spice Trip through the outer corner and drag that through the crease. Look number 5 is very simple, and it's a quick look that I threw together one morning just because I needed something cool toned and simple, and this one has Shisha Smoke through the crease. You can see how it's deepened up a little bit more in the deep crease and it's paler through the upper crease. I have Moroccan Ice on the lid, and then I think I've got a little bit of Fez Up in the very outer corner just to deepen it up. This eye look was very interesting. I see a lot of gray tones in this, but somebody else saw me at work and they thought my eyeshadow looked purple. So it does have some varying shades in there. For me, I was just really happy to see something that was a little bit more cool toned because this palette does look very warm, but you can pull some cooler toned looks out of it. For today's look, I wanted to do something that was going to be warm on the upper lid and then cool on the bottom lid. I wasn't really sure if it was going to work, but I wanted to see if it would, and honestly, I'm so happy with how it came out. This is definitely a look that I'm going to go back to many times from now on. So I have Quicksand through the crease, Saffron on the outer corner, and of course drag that through the crease as well. I have Casablanca dry on the lid here. Did not love it dry, but it's still pretty overall. Then I have Soak It To Me on the outer corner, and this is when I thought things were really gonna go sideways. That color did not like to be applied on top of matte shades with a real haired brush. I had to switch to a synthetic brush just to layer it properly, and it worked out much better that way. Then I have Evil Genie on the lower lash line. I use a pencil brush to buff that in, and then I use Soak It To Me on the very corner of the outer lash line to sort of blend that into the outer corner of my upper lash line. I also have Moroccan Ice on the inner corner of my eye. And I am so pleased with how this look came together. It is probably one of my favorites that I've ever done. Alright, you've seen my swatches, you've seen some eye looks using this palette. Now for my final thoughts, and I think it's pretty obvious that I really, really love this palette. I was so taken aback by just how much I liked it. I love the eyeshadows in here, I love the pigmentation, I love the quality. I feel like every look I put together using this palette was just beautiful, and that's pretty rare. Often I'll get a palette, do like 5 looks, and there's a few in there and I'm just like, ugh, they're not that pretty at all, but you know, I created them because I wanted to test out certain colors. This, every time I put something on my eyes, I was like, yes, this is a good eyeshadow look. Now, I did get this from Fenty Beauty PR, which was so nice. They were so nice to send it to me. But I'm actually mad that I got it in PR because I love this so much. I wish that I had put this in my cart and bought it on day one so I could have been using this the entire summer because it is just that good. And I know some people are inclined to believe that if you're sent something in PR, you're gonna say nicer things about it than if you had bought it, which is why I'm mad that I didn't just go buy this myself, because I never want to give somebody the impression that I'm only saying nice things because it got sent to me. That's not the case, but I know some people will believe it regardless. And this is one of those products that I wish I just bought because it is so good. The quality is wonderful. I love the shadows in here. This is an absolute winner, and this is hands down going in my 2018 favorites because it's just so good. It is so good. So I'm super happy that this is a permanent product. You can go buy it if you want it. Wait for the November VIB sale if you want to save some money because the price tag is a little bit higher. But rest assured that the quality is fantastic and it is worth the full value at the 69 Canadian or 59 US. It's so good. Have I said it enough? This is wonderful. So that's it for my review on the Fenty Beauty Moroccan Spice Palette. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.